secrets of the irrevocable business trust. And I would say any real private irrevocable trust, but we're going to talk about the irrevocable business trust. My name is Sot L, seeker of truth L, speaker of truth L. This is the foundation. We're doing a late episode. I apologize. I'm doing my dance in the private, but I haven't forgotten about y'all. So we're going to get into these secrets. We're actually going to be looking at a document that is available in the trust primer that is available at welcometothefoundation.com. We're going to jump into that. And actually, if you email me inquiries, how do you say that? Inquiries at welcometothefoundation.com. I will shoot you that document for free. But let's get into this episode because, it's not going to take that much time, but I believe there's some gems that you don't want to miss. So let's do our little dance. Let's as always, let's discuss how we should all check out welcometothefoundation.com and sign up for the email list. It's right here. Boom, 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 blow. It's easy. Also, if you go to the education section, these are all the things that we offer. These are actual educational materials. We have the Foundation Trust Primer. This is documents, right? So we're going to be looking at a document from this. We also have the Trust Series, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. These documents right here. The Trust Primer, and then this series, which is a video series. It's shipped to you on DVDs. It's actually pretty luxurious. But, this is for if you, just started, if you're just getting into private trust and trying to understand what it means. Contract trust, irrevocable trust, common law trust, Massachusetts trust, business trust, these types of dances. There's a lot of information out here that could, definitely jeopardize what you're looking to do from the giddy up, from the start. So this is where, I suggest always that people start. If you're not going to jump right into trustee training, this is where I would suggest you start. We have the Passport, No Social, Part 1 and Part 2. Part 3, that actually never happened yet. He's still working on that. If you're interested in getting a passport without a social security number, we partnered with Chris L to offer that, but we have a lot of, I would say a plethora of information available free here. What's going on with the load? But, you're welcome to check that out. At the minimum, I would, just ask that you sign up for the email list. We appreciate it. Right now, we have a special offer. We've had some feedback. So this is what we're doing. The sign-up fee for trustee training is, people say it's a little much. So what we're doing now is we're offering, essentially it's finance, but we're breaking it into 4 payments. And then what we're going to do is, include the monthly. So I think this is probably the most affordable and comprehensive trust administration training that exists on the planet, period. At this point, I don't know how we can do anything better than this. You can look over, the offer for trustee training if you like. There's a link in the description of this video. But, we're going to let you get started for $260, basically, minus a penny. And then you can get started. If that's for you. Also, if you've ever been in trustee training, because we've been doing trustee training for about 10 years. If you've ever been trustee training, however we were doing it in the past, you should shoot me an email. Because, we can offer you this training here if you're interested at a very substantial discount because you've already been in the training. And that's just, we probably should have, I should have done that before. We should have done that before, sooner. Apologies. We're doing it now. Also, if you were interested in starting a business, you felt like you couldn't, you didn't know how to do it, so on and so forth, this is the course for you. at your own pace, just like trustee training. And this is how you learn to start your own business, from the articles of organization or incorporation, the EIN, business plan, setting up the bank account, so on and so forth. This is it. So the link in the description for that. And also we have the Foundation magazine. It's about to go out. I think we're sending out the magazine, the current issue, next week. I believe it's next week. I got to talk to Dylan. But we have a print edition as well as a digital subscription edition. We appreciate you. But you can check that link out in the description if you would like to support us, with this magazine. I like the print edition. I get every one. I pay for it personally. I don't commingle. I don't self-deal. And I think it's just a luxurious thing to be a part of. So with that being said, let's jump into this. So we got this article, Secrets of the Irrevocable Pure Business Trust. Now, I'm not going to read this, right? Because, as I said, inquiries at welcometothefoundation.com, I will shoot this to you. But what I do want to get into is, two categories of trust. I'm right here. Whoops. Right here. Whoops. Right here. Two categories of trust, right? And I want to point this out. So that I didn't write this. We didn't write this. I also want to point out this is from 1993. And I also want to say, as a qualifier, the law never expires. The law doesn't get old. Law is based on law. There's a lot of layers. It's over many years. But what I'm saying is, this stuff is not new. It's not new in any way, shape, or form. This information is just new to us, really. In the age of information, with the world at our fingertips, so to speak, we're able to jump into this. But two categories of trust, and I want to jump down to this. They in the author's document, they break it down from statutory trust, which I completely understand what that means. These are trusts that owe their existence to state legislatures or state codes, state statutes. They're authorized to exist according to state statutes. These are your LLCs, your corporations, your sole proprietorships. These are your partnerships. These are also trusts. And this is what confuses a lot of people, right? And this is what I do my best to make clear. It's because this trust stuff is a double-edged sword, two-sided coin, however you want to talk about it. But we have public and private that exist simultaneously. And public is all just public law. Just think of legislation. State codes and statutes, federal codes and statutes. It's all public. So the public itself, and specifically, you have state statutes that authorize the existence of trust. And, in this specific indenture, it will speak to, the jurisdiction of the specific trust. These, what I call public trust, also known as grantor trust. A lot of times, you also see them as simple trust, and there's hundreds of different trusts, right? Especially on the public side. And I would say they just speak to the purpose, but on the private side, they speak to the purpose when it comes to the types of trust. On the public side, it speaks more to the liberty, the allowing of, and the specific parameters of operations of these, publicly, legislatively designated structures. So these are statutory trusts which are defined in precise terms and which are bound by procedural structure, fall into that category of trusts which arise by privilege. And this privilege would be to operate and organize a trust under these statutes. Keep that in mind. It's that simple. It's weird. In those cases, some deciding authority or agency, whether the Internal Revenue Service, the American Law Institute's Committee on Trust, or some other body or agency, has seen fit to describe and limit a particular kind of trust. You got charitable trusts, generation skipping trust. There's a lot of trusts. Bottom line is the authority of governance is held by a state legislator or some sort of state statute. That's basically what it is. When it comes to private trust, and right here is contractual right. Excuse me. The other broad category trust is that created by contractual right. Privileges can be withdrawn, revised, or modified by their giver. And what I'm saying, the state statutes can be changed at any time. The legislature can redraw or amend the statute at any time. That but must be made clear. So whenever and when the new session begins, suddenly the rules change with regards to the administration of public structures, including publicly governed trusts. I'm being specific now. Now, when it comes to contractual right, or what I call, or what is, I would say, generally known as contract trusts or private trusts, we're dealing with the common law right to contract. We're also dealing with benefits. Now, regardless, and people get this confused, regardless of the structure, the execution, the funding, the creation of a trust, whether it's private or not. And in this instance, specifically, if it's private, if a private, or in this article, what the author describes as a contractual trust, which is completely true because they're a contract, it's a contract. These private structures can still partake in a public benefit. And at any time that it does that, because it partakes of a benefit of the public or state statute regulations or what have you, it also becomes governable by the state that derived that benefit. I'm trying to be as clear as I possibly can. And it's imperative to understand that even though you are or may be administering a private trust or a trust that is executed by the common law right to contract, and which Article 1, Section 10 states in part, and you can research this for yourself, check out the Constitution, no state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of contract. So when we're dealing with a private trust, we're dealing with a trust that is governed by the contract itself. A contract where no state can pass any law impairing the obligation. Now, there's two types of actions that are brought against a trust, in my opinion. And I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not an attorney. I don't give trading advice. I don't give dating advice. I don't give framing advice. I don't give any advice. I just speak on what I know. Seeker of truth, speaker of truth. But when it comes to a private contract that is governed by the contract indenture itself, there's no state government governance. There's no federal governance. But if it partakes through its administration, the trustees, whether it be it on accident or on purpose, partake of a public benefit, it loses its constitutionally contractual protections. That's the first one. The second way is, they're bringing in, there's some sort of action, and it must be substantiated that what they believe they are looking at or dealing with is not. Basically, they believe erroneously that these state actors, that they have some sort of control through their agency of the state over a private contractual structure. And in that situation, all you have to do is substantiate it through the proper administration. It's very simple. It's a matter of right versus privilege. It says in this article, the bottom line is quite simple. It is a matter of right versus privilege. Why should we restrict the operation of our businesses to the territory granted by legislative privilege when it is not really necessary? Not only is it unnecessary, it can be downright foolhardy. And I think this is important as well. Any smart lawyer can tell you that for every case law on one side of an issue, there usually exists two on the other side. Case law is always a two-edged sword. It cuts both coming and going. Irrevocable trusts, on the other hand, is, quote, a trust organization consisting of a U.S. constitutional right of contract, which cannot be abridged. The agreement, when executed, becomes a federal organization and not under the laws passed by any of the several legislatures. And this is a Supreme Court case. It's called Crocker versus McCoy. It's a very well-known case in trust circles. It's a heavily cited case in trust circles. And it really comes down to what law is governing the trust. Is it public law? Because if it is, it's being governed by statutes and statutory, which means the Internal Revenue Service can say that the trust cannot count this particular, follow what I'm saying, this particular expense or transaction as an expense. That cannot happen with regards to a private contract, because that would necessarily impair the obligation of a contract. If the contract, or within the contract, it states that this particular transaction, this particular item or service that is paid for by the trust is actually an allowable expense. So if no state can pass any law impairing the obligation of contract, in the Internal Revenue Service of the state of blank is attempting to allege that a specific transaction falls outside of allowable deductions, the secret is that assertion appears to necessarily impair the obligation of contract, which is violative of the United States Constitution. That knowledge is primary. That's a very, very deep secret right there. And I'm going to tell you this. Most attorneys are not going to understand this. And you're going to say, so why? Attorneys know everything. You're not an attorney. How do you know what attorneys know when you're not an attorney? And I would say those are very good questions. And my answers to those questions, or my answer singular to those questions, would be attorneys learn procedure and they study a particular body of law, whether it's criminal law, family law, you have civil law. So, you have injury law, personal injury law. There's a lot of different bodies of law. And I'm telling you, unless they have studied not only contract law, but also studied and are familiar with constitutional law, you're going to get a trust attorney who's going to speak and spout only what they learned in public school, teaching them public law. And they're going to tell you the legislative, statutory rules, regulations, and restrictions with regards to trust. Because that's what they're taught. And if you think I'm playing, go to a constitutional or a contract attorney and ask them, is there other trusts besides statutory trusts? Are there trusts that exist outside or without statutory jurisdiction? And then you can read the Hague convention on the recognition of trusts and get a little deeper. And these are the secrets. Not only, like as I said, not only of a business trust, because we're talking, as I said, on the private, we're talking about what is the purpose of the trust. It's all trust in the private. It's all trust. Please believe me. And anyone who disagrees with what I'm saying, let's debate. Let's talk about it. We can do it live. I don't care. It's all trust in the private. It's all about the purpose of the trust. And that's where you get business trust, you get family trust, you get asset trust, and you get all these different types of trust, right? But not really. When you're talking about private trust, it's all contract. They're all contractual trusts, period. Otherwise, it's not private. And there are contractual trusts that invoke statutory jurisdiction. So they're private, but they're governed by a statute that is invoked in the contract. We can debate it. We can debate it all day. Just give me some snacks, some juice. I need some good juice. Like I'm talking organic juice, strawberries. I love berries, but I'll debate it. That's why it's important to understand with regards to governance. It's important to understand these secrets with regards to trust. These are the things and more, watch me do the pitch, and more that you will learn in Trustee training. As I said, and link in the description. Not only are you going to learn how to properly administer, and I'm serious, it is one of the most satisfying things. And this might freak some people out, right? But this is one of the most satisfying things to survive an audit from the IRS. To know, to be tested and know that this is on the up and up. It's one of the best feelings in the world to know that you have established your estate in trust, that these structures will never die, that we've completely knocked out probate. There's no retitling. All the properties stay in the same structure. It's just the trustees, it's the administrators that change, and they change through the generations. No more titling fees and taxes. I mean, there's so many different things with regards to, transactional purchases that come into play, sales tax and all that other stuff. And then when you have a structure that doesn't owe its existence to state statute and isn't governed by state statute, what happens with state income returns? From what I understand, and do your own research, an entity that does not owe its existence to any particular state is not required to file a return in that particular state unless it has partaken of some sort of benefit within that particular state. Is there a license, a permit? And then, why would you do that? Why would you just, on behalf of the trust, resolve that an LLC or some sort of corporation be created and blanket that permit or whatever is needed, license, because since the license and the permit is a public benefit, why would you associate that with a private structure? Why wouldn't there be a resolution that a public structure is erected to blanket that public benefit with, so we would preserve the integrity of the private structure? This is the stuff we learn in trustee training, as well as how to create the trust structure that holds and protects all of this stuff. And we're talking about multiple generations, multi-generational wealth. Link in the description if you're interested. I'm not going to take up too much of your time with this. And, I trust that, y'all learned something. Let's wrap it up. For me, obviously, you can hear it. There's passion. This stuff has changed my life. It's changed my family's life. It's changed the quality of life. It's changed a lot. And it's very empowering in ways that, can't be quantified or communicated, over public airways. You got to read through between the lines with this stuff. We're talking about changing lives. That's it. If you hear it, you hear it. If you see it, you see it. If not, hopefully you learn something. And I trust that you truly did learn something at the very least. With that being said, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to check in with me here on the foundation. My name is Sot L, Seeker of Truth L, Speaker of Truth L. Make sure you enjoy yourself, take care of yourself. Say 10 things that you're thankful for before you go to sleep tonight and every night. And I will catch y'all tomorrow on current events. I'm going to do current events tomorrow, y'all. I promise. I promise I will. Peace, y'all.